After my brother branded me a loser and excluded me from Christmas, I cut financial ties. Now he's falling apart. Honestly, this year I was super pumped for Christmas because, for once, I wasn't scrambling to get everything done at the last minute. I got gifts for my parents, my brother Jacob, his wife Kelly, and their kids all before December even hit. I even grabbed a few extra presents just in case we had some surprise guests. I don't know why, but I had this feeling that this year was going to be awesome. So, you can imagine my shock when my mom opened the door and hit me with, "We don't want you here this year," while I stood there on their porch with my arms full of gifts. At first, I was sure it was some sort of weird joke, and I started to laugh it off. But then Jacob chimed in from behind her, saying, "This is no place for losers. You're really starting to wear on us." I just stood there, completely floored. My dad was in the background, nervously looking everywhere but at me, and despite looking a bit uneasy, my mom didn't take back what she said. Jacob, though, looked all smug and arrogant. I was flooded with all kinds of feelings, humiliation, anger, confusion, but somehow I kept it together. "Fine, if that's how you feel," I said and headed back to my car, feeling like something inside me had seriously shifted as I looked at the gift bags on the seat next to me. No place for losers? Tired of me? Where did that come from? I wondered if Jacob was behind all this, but I couldn't figure out why. I mean, over the years, I've been nothing but generous to him and his family, paying for his kids' summer camps, school stuff, even helping with his mortgage when he needed it. And now, suddenly, I'm not invited for Christmas? I decided I wasn't leaving without some answers, so I went back to the door after leaving the gifts in the car. When I got back, my parents were still there, talking quietly, and Jacob was just chilling on the couch, scrolling on his phone like nothing happened. I didn't even bother knocking. I just walked in and asked, "What's going on? Why am I not welcome at Christmas? What did I do?" Still glued to his phone, Jacob just smirked and said, "You really don't get it, do you? You've been slacking off lately. The kids barely got anything from you this year." I was stunned. "What are you talking about? I've spent hundreds on your kids' presents. They have more gifts in the car than anyone else." But Jacob just shrugged. "Last year you did more. This year, it's like you don't care. It's embarrassing for us." I looked to my parents, hoping they'd back me up or at least tell Jacob he was out of line, but my mom just gave this awkward smile and said, "But you just bought a new car. You found money for that." For a second, I didn't know how to respond. "The car's on credit," I said, trying to stay calm. "And even if it wasn't, how does buying a car make me responsible for Jacob's kids? They're not my responsibility." Jacob leaned back, not missing a beat. "You're the one who makes the most money," he said, like that explained everything. "We're family. Families help each other, and you've always done that." Kelly was sitting off to the side, looking like she wanted to disappear. Her face was all flushed, and she just stared down at her hands. I asked, "So that's it? Because I've been generous before, I'm now obligated forever? And if I'm not, I'm a loser?" Jacob just shrugged. "If the shoe fits." That was it for me. I shook my head, turned to my parents, and said, "You know what? You're right. I don't belong here." Then to Jacob, I said, "Enjoy Christmas, and good luck with those presents because this loser is done financing your life." Without waiting for a response, I left. As I drove home, gripping the wheel tighter than I needed to, I just couldn't wrap my head around it all. Was I the bad guy here? For years, I went above and beyond for my family, especially Jacob, making sure his kids were always taken care of. And now, suddenly, I'm a loser for not doing enough and not welcome at Christmas? When I got home, I sat there for a while in the driveway, staring into space, feeling sick as I looked at the bags of gifts still sitting in the car. I'd spent weeks picking out just the right things, thinking about what my parents would like and what the kids would enjoy, and for what? Apparently, I wasn't meant to be there. As I thought more about it, I realized this was about more than just Christmas and gifts. I'd been too blind, or maybe too willing, to notice what was really going on. Jacob had been leaning on me for years. From the get-go, he and Kelly had a rough time financially when they got hitched. Jacob had trouble holding down a job, and Kelly's part-time gig just wasn't cutting it. I thought it'd only be temporary, throwing in a few bucks here and there, so I pitched in. They were about to get kicked out of their place once, so I covered rent. Then, when their second kid was born, I helped out with childcare. But just a little while turned into years. Jacob always called me first when things went south, and honestly, I always helped because I cared about his kids, not because I had to. I didn't want them to struggle. But looking back, I realized I'd created this whole situation. Jacob started taking my help for granted somewhere along the way. Things hit a boiling point when I got snubbed from the family Christmas bash for not doing enough. I woke up one morning with a clear head and decided I was done. No more bailing Jacob out. Let him decide if he wants his kids to have what I used to give them. It was a tough call, not just losing the financial strain but risking my relationship with him, his kids, and maybe even our parents. Still, I was sick of being treated like an ATM instead of a brother. Jacob didn't take it well. New Year's came and went in silence, no texts, no calls, nada. My parents, Jacob, and even Kelly went radio silent. It was weird being alone over the holidays. Sure, I didn't exactly expect them to reach out, but when midnight hit and my phone was quiet, it felt strange. I almost called them, but I kept thinking of Jacob's snide remark, "No place for losers." I'd been the one holding things together for ages, and they had the nerve to act like I didn't matter. Fine, I'd give them the space they seemed to want. By mid-January, something shifted. Kelly, usually pretty quiet and non-confrontational, texted me out of the blue. Her message was simple: "I'm sorry. I don't agree with what happened. Jacob won't hear it from me, but I thought you should know." It was nice to know someone saw things how they really were. But it also felt a bit late for any apologies since she hadn't spoken up back then. I replied, "Thanks, Kelly, but I can't just move past this." And she left it there. Then, in early February, Jacob showed up unannounced at my place. I was in a virtual work meeting when I heard the knock, so I ignored it at first. But he kept at it. When I finally opened the door, he looked more stressed and annoyed than ever. Before I could ask, he said, "We need to talk," and just walked in. I crossed my arms and asked, "What's this about?" He went straight to the point, telling me I needed to start helping out again. I laughed out loud, not because it was funny, but because it was unbelievable. "Helping out?" I said. "You mean bankrolling your life? I told you I'm done." He gave me this ugly look and said, "You're the one with money, do you know how tough it's been since you pulled this? We can't get by without your help." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you hearing yourself? You're a grown man, Jacob. You've got a family. If you need more money, go earn it. It's not my job to fix your problems." He shot back, "You always helped before. Why are you being so selfish now?" I fired back, "Selfish? Really? Let's talk about how you lied to our parents, turned them against me, and banned me from Christmas because I didn't spend enough on your kids. And now you come here asking for more. You've got some nerve." I cut him off before he could say more. "We're done here. I'm not giving you another dime, and I don't want to hear from you again until you figure out how to act." So, picture this: Jacob stares at me like he's playing the grown-up, all serious and stuff, before he storms off. I thought, well, that's the last I'll see of him for a bit. Usually, he'd huff and puff to our parents, but eventually, he'd get that I'm not backing down. Man, was I wrong. 2 days later, my phone buzzes with a call from a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I'd just ignore it, but something made me pick up. "Hey," said a guy on the other end. "Is this Michael?" I replied, "Yeah, who is this?" He goes, "I'm Mark Dawson, a lawyer. I'm calling about some concerns a client has about your family's finances. Got a second to chat?" My stomach did a flip. Financial issues? With a lawyer? He was being all polite but wouldn't spill details over the phone. He just mentioned something about money I gave to Jacob and his family and wanted me to drop by his office for a chat. I was speechless, running through all sorts of scenarios in my head, none of them good. Had Jacob borrowed money under my name? Was he causing trouble with my info? Or was this just another one of his tricks to squeeze money out of me? I asked, "Who's your client?" He hesitated a moment and then said he couldn't tell me right away but assured me it wasn't a lawsuit, just an investigation. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet, curiosity taking the wheel. It felt like this was bigger than just another of Jacob's antics. Walking into Mark Dawson's office, I was clueless about what was coming. As soon as I sat down, he handed me a folder and hit me with the news: Kelly was his client. I was floored. Why would she need a lawyer? Mark explained she believed Jacob had been misusing the money I'd given him, shuffling it around in secret. Apparently, he was spending it on gambling and other personal stuff, rather than on his family. I was shocked as I looked at the paperwork, realizing that all those times I helped out with bills and school expenses, the money never made it to the family. Mark nodded solemnly, confirming that it seemed to be true. Kelly had pieced it together recently and turned to Mark because she was at a loss. She hadn't wanted to get me involved initially, but felt it was important that I know. I felt a mix of betrayal, anger, and stupidity for not seeing through Jacob. My voice shaky, I asked if Kelly had proof. Mark told me to check out the papers. As I glanced through them, I saw large withdrawals from Jacob's account moving to another account in his name. And yup, transfers from mine to his matched the times I stepped in to help. There were expenses like fancy dinners, online gambling, hotel stays, stuff that clearly wasn't for family support. I mumbled in disbelief, did Kelly know about all this? Mark clarified that she only stumbled upon the second account recently. She'd been suspicious but didn't have access until she found some bank statements lying around. With no solid proof, she reached out to him for help. I tried to process it all, sitting back in my chair. Was Kelly expecting me to take action or press charges? Mark shook his head. Not yet, at least. She's more concerned about keeping herself and the kids safe. Jacob might try to mess with me again, so she thought I should be in the loop. I let out a bitter laugh. Jacob had already tried. He'd shown up at my place a few days back, demanding that I start helping out again. Mark nodded, adding that it matches what Kelly had told him. Jacob's feeling the heat now that I stopped helping financially, and he might be in more trouble than Kelly even knows. Looking at the folder, my thoughts were all over the place. Part of me wanted to confront Jacob, but I knew that'd just give him the satisfaction of getting under my skin. What's Kelly planning to do? I asked. Mark paused, saying she's weighing her options, making sure she and the kids are secure. If Jacob's behavior gets worse, she wants to be ready. You know, you could go for a separation or take some legal action. Hearing that hit me harder than I thought it would. Kelly always seemed like the kind of person who was super chill and devoted, always there for Jacob. Things had to be seriously messed up for her to want out. I felt all sorts of things, mad at Jacob, sad for Kelly and the kids, and guilty because I didn't see how bad it had gotten sooner. After thanking Mark for his time, I left the office feeling oddly relieved. It was like the first time in forever that I wasn't carrying Jacob's baggage, and now that I knew what was up, I promised myself I wouldn't let him control me anymore. All this stuff kept swirling in my head after I left the lawyer's office. The gambling, the hidden money, Kelly planning her next steps, it was like being smack dab in a family soap opera. I kept my distance for a few days, no calls to the folks, no reaching out to Jacob. But I guess he didn't like the radio silence, because one night, right as I was about to dig into dinner, he called. I thought about letting it go to voicemail but ended up picking it up. What do you want, Jacob? I asked. Without missing a beat, he goes, we need to talk. He sounded all stressed out. You said something to Kelly, didn't you? Wait, what are you talking about? I replied, raising an eyebrow. Don't play dumb, he yelled. She's been acting weird since Christmas, and now she's talking about lawyers and separation. I know you've been putting ideas in her head. I couldn't help but laugh. You think I'm the issue? Dude, you're the one who lied to her, hid money, and gambled it away. If she's fed up with you, that's on you, not me. There was a pause, and then Jacob tried to say, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think I do, I shot back, my anger rising. Kelly told me everything, the secret account, the gambling, the money you've been blowing through while I've been busting my butt trying to help you. You're a joke, Jacob. Before he could yell some more, I cut him off and hung up. My hands were shaking, but it felt so good to finally say what I'd been holding back for years. You've used me for the last time. I'm done helping you, done covering for you. If Kelly leaves you, that's on you, and if you try to drag me into this mess again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you've been doing. Kelly called me the next day. Has Jacob called you? She asked cautiously. Yeah, I said. He wasn't happy. Did something happen? I confronted him about the gambling and the secret account, she admitted, after a pause. He owned up to some of it but is still trying to play it down. Are you okay? I asked, even though I could sense she wasn't. I'm fine, she replied, but she was tired of making excuses for him. The kids deserved better. I knew things were rough between them, but hearing her say it felt like things were really coming to an end, and it hit me harder than I expected. Whatever you decide to do, I've got your back, I told her. Thank you, she said quietly. And I'm sorry for everything. The way we treated you over Christmas wasn't right. I should have spoken up sooner. We chatted for a bit, and when we finally hung up, I felt this weird sense of closure. Jacob might have wrecked our relationship, but Kelly and the kids weren't my enemies. I wouldn't blame her for standing up to him, even if I couldn't shake the feeling that Jacob wasn't done stirring the pot. A few weeks later, Kelly texted me just 3 words, we're going today. She told me she was moving out of state with the kids while Jacob was away on some business trip, which I figured was another excuse for gambling. She had everything packed up in a moving van, ready to leave without telling Jacob until it was all sorted legally. I called her right away. "I just can't stay any longer," she said softly. "I can't keep pretending this is normal." "But what about everything, the rent?" I asked, genuinely concerned about how she was doing. "I was hoping you could help me out, just for a bit," she said after a pause. "Say no more," I said. "I'll take care of it." And I did end up helping her and the kids, but for the first time in years, it felt right, not like I was being used. When Jacob got home to find the house empty, he totally lost it and called me to complain, but I just. So, basically, he felt like his life was a mess and thought Kelly was against him after he vented for a bit. I suggested that maybe if he had spent more time being a husband and dad instead of gaming, things might have been different. After that, I just said, "Good luck with that," and hung up. Meanwhile, the kids are getting used to their new school, and Kelly has landed a stable job and is finally feeling like she's got her life back on track. As for Jacob, I've heard he's still pointing fingers at everyone else instead of himself, but honestly, that's not my issue anymore. So, if that's what you'd call a happy ending, then there you go. Thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more wild real life stories happening around us.